All right, 7th grade, this is going to be our lesson on solving open-ended problems in math. Please make sure you follow along in your notes. So, first we're going to start off with steps to solving problems, and there are 4 steps that we basically follow every time we're presented with a word problem. The first step is to understand. So, understand means that you've got to read the problem until you know what it's asking. So, read it again, pick out some keywords, make sure you understand exactly what the question's asking before you do anything else. Know what you're solving for. Next, you want to make a plan. And this plan does not have to be something long and written down. It can be a mental plan of exactly what you're going to do to solve. So pick out some key math words that are going to help you choose which operations to use. Try to determine how many steps it's going to take you to solve. And something that I should have written down here that I didn't, try to get an idea of what your answer will look like. Now, I'm not exactly asking you to estimate your answer, but I want you to know how you will know when you're finished solving the problem. So give yourself a couple things to think ahead to make that plan. Next, you're going to solve and explain. We're going to use the T-chart system that you'll see in just a second. And last but not least, we're going to check and reflect. Checking is kind of just where you check over your math, make sure you did everything correctly. Reflecting is if you think your answer is reasonable. And that links back to that number 2 plan of what your answer might look like in the end. Okay, so those are your 4 basic problem-solving steps. Now let's take a look at what our T-chart should look like. Okay, so first, on the work side, we want to number our steps. You want to keep your work side as organized as possible. Step 1, put a number 1 first, and then do that set of math. Do it for step 2, step 3, step 4. The reason for this is sometimes we end up running out of space and you have to put a step in a weird place. If you've got a number there, now I know which order you did your work in. Number 2, show all your work. If you do some work on a calculator, that's perfectly fine for some of these problems, if you're told the calculators are okay. But make sure you show that problem in your work side. Don't just leave it go and say, oh, I got this number out of nowhere. So if I'm trying to do 275 times 6, I can write the problem down, solve it on the calculator, and give my answer. Now, if calculators are not allowed, then you're going to have to show all those steps as well, even if it's mental math. Number 3, use labels and units of measurements. Units of measurement, I'm just going to call them units. You're very used to using that, like feet, inches, yards, miles, stuff like that. Labels are something a little bit different. That's going to be something new for us this year, but it's really going to help us when it's time to write our explanation. So stick with me on this idea of labels. Okay, units are very important as well. Then we're going to finish our work side with an answer sentence. Okay, and you will notice my answer sentence does not have a number in front of it because it's not part of our steps, but I do want to circle it so that it stands out. So this is the format I'd like you to use when we are doing word problems. Now, the explanation. 7th graders hate explaining their work. I get it. I'm not a big fan either, but I'm going to come up with a way that makes it very, very easy for you. Okay, so here are our explanation notes. Please make sure you have them all copied. First of all, no numbers. You notice that I didn't even number my notes on the explanation slide. I don't want to see any numbers over there. Doesn't matter if you write them in word form or do hieroglyphics or Roman numerals. I don't want to see numbers on the explanation. The only exception to that are time order words like first, second, third, stuff like that, which they're not numbers anyways. Next, we're going to write 1 sentence for every step on the work side. So over here on my work side, if I have 3 steps, I'm going to write 3 sentences on the explanation to explain them. Finally, every sentence has to tell 3 things: when, how, and why. When did you do it? That's when you put a time order word in there. How did you do it? Now you're mentioning the operation that you did. And why did you do it? This is when we use things like to get, to find, or to figure out. That'll help us to include the why in our sentences. And we're going to go back to this ever important label that we're going to do in step 3. Okay, so make sure you have this all copied down. If you need to pause the video, that's fine. Go ahead and do that. And then we're going to see a practice problem together. Okay? Okay, so this is the first problem in your open-ended practice problems assignment. You have 2 additional problems that will show up that you will have to complete. 3 additional problems. Question number 2, question number 3, and question number 4. So right now, I just want to solve one of these problems together to see what I would do if I were solving this problem. This is the expectation in our class. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get a highlighter. And I like the color green. So I'm going to read through the problem and I want to understand it. So important stuff I'm going to make notes of or highlight things. So Jennifer earns $8.50 per hour babysitting. That's very important. There's a money number, and the word per, I know, is going to be a multiplication word. Last week, Jennifer babysat for 15 hours. All right, that's important too. So she makes $8.50 an hour. She works for 15 hours. So if I need to, I'm already thinking about this problem. I bet I'm going to be multiplying those numbers together to figure out how much money she makes. All right, more into the problem. She used her earnings to go back to school shopping. Jennifer bought a new backpack. Oops, now she's shopping, so this is important stuff too. So she bought a new backpack for $24.95. She bought a pack of highlighters for $3.99, and she bought 3 binders that each cost $4.25. So each is another important word. Each means to multiply. So the first binder was $4.25, the second binder was $4.25, the third binder was $4.25. That means I'm going to do a little bit of multiplication there to figure out how much money she ended up spending on binders. All right, last but not least, I want to highlight my question. How much money will Jennifer have left after shopping? All right, so I understand the problem. I have to do a little bit of math to figure out how much money she makes. And then I have to do some math to figure out how much money she spent. And then I have to do some math to figure out what she has left. So I can probably solve this problem in about 3 steps, maybe 4 steps, because there are a couple mini questions along the way that I have to answer. So my prediction is about 3 to 4 steps. I know I'm going to use some multiplication. I'm going to use some addition. And I'm going to use some subtraction here. So that's my little plan of what I'm going to do. Nothing super detailed, but I have my plan going on. Now it's time for me to solve the problem. So I'm going to start over here. My first step, I'm going to number my step. The first thing I want to do is I want to figure out how much money she makes from babysitting. So I'm going to take $8.50. I'm going to multiply that by 15 hours. Now, I am going to do this with a calculator because right now the focus is that we are problem solving. The focus isn't necessarily on decimals right now. So 850 times 15, I get $127.50. So here's my answer. See how I wrote the problem down even though I used a calculator? And I used my units of measurement, my dollars here, but now I need to create a label. So a label should be something super fast, super short, that can be used to describe what that money represents. Okay, so that is her earnings. That's the label I'm going to put there. Earnings. Now I can move on to step 2. Step 2, I want to figure out how much money she spent. So within this problem of backpack highlighters and binders, there's a mini problem that says each binder costs $4.25 and she bought 3 of them. So I'm going to do a really quick multiplication problem here. 425 times 3. I'm going to use my calculator. $4.25 times 3 is $12.75. Again, I used a calculator, but I still showed my work to make sure that that step is recorded in the process. Now, what does $12.75 represent? It represents the cost of the binders. All right, that was the mini problem. I kind of have to solve the rest of that problem now to tell how much money she spent altogether. So that's cost of the backpack, which is $24.95. The cost of the highlighters, which is $3.99, and the cost of the binders, which is $12.75. So again, I will quickly put this in my calculator. I'm going to try. I was trying to fix that line, but I guess it won't work right now. So I'll put in my calculator $24.95 plus $3.99 plus $12.75, and I get $41.69. I need a label for that. So what can I use to describe the backpack plus the highlighters plus the binders? Well, that's the amount of money she spent. So I'm going to say money she spent. This may seem like kind of a pointless thing to do right now, but trust me, this is going to come in so handy when we write our explanation. Finally, I have to answer the question that's asked in the problem. How much money will Jennifer have left after shopping? So she has all this money, $127.50. She spends $41.69. So I know that's a subtraction problem. $127.50 minus $41.69. Going to use my calculator one last time. Now, I know you can handle all these calculations. I just wanted to kind of do this as quickly as possible right now just to get you an idea of how this problem would be solved, what it would look like. Final answer here for me is $85.81. And now that is what's left. So the money left. Now, I'm not finished my work side yet because I need an answer sentence. So what I'm going to do, because I can type a little faster than I can write, I'm going to write my answer sentence as text. So my answer sentence is going to take this pink question here at the bottom and it's going to flip it around, and instead of being a question, it's going to be an answer. How much money will Jennifer have left? Jennifer will have $85.81 left. Don't forget, very important, we are going to draw a circle or an oval around our answer sentence so it stands out. Okay, so that's the work side. Very, very easy. Now I have to do my explanation. Explanation, same thing, I'm going to type it because I can type faster than I can write. And I know that in my explanation, I need one sentence for every step. So I'm going to be writing 4 sentences. Make my font a little smaller. My first sentence, check out how easy this is, guys. You will not believe how easy this is. Look over here at my steps. Step 1. What word can I use to describe step 1? Well, I can use the word first. So when did I do it? I did it first. How did I do it? Well, now I look at the operation. I multiplied. Why did I do it? So don't forget those phrases. To get, to find, or to figure out. I'm going to use to get. And this is where my label comes in. Her earnings. It's that easy. It doesn't have to be crazy long explanations. So next step. So second, I multiplied to find the cost of the binders. Third, I added to figure out how much money she spent. And then my last step, I can say words like fourth or finally or last. I'm going to say finally. I subtracted to get the amount she had left. You do not need to write a sentence about your answer sentence because you already did your answer sentence, but now we're finished. And that's the whole process of solving open-ended questions. So practice this, study this. We are going to have a quiz on this. And right now you have 3 additional questions that you have to do. Don't forget to solve them and upload them into Schoology.